Yo, Daemon Targaryen is an absolute madman. A madman. Honestly, this guy barely even said a word this episode, and is just, you could just feel his presence. Matt Smith is killing this as Daemon Targaryen. But we jumping ahead, super jumping ahead. So this is a spoiler review, so let's get into this. Hello. This is your boy Brandon Correia, aka EF Hunt of Entertainment, and we are back with another review. And the review we got today is House of the Dragon episode 3. And honestly, great episode. I was ready to come in here and be like, it was a little slow this week. It was a little slow. Little do I know, because obviously we have the opening scene, which was a great opening scene, briefly touching on the sea snake Daemon Targaryen conflict with the crab feeder. So that's kind of briefly touched upon. So that was a great, visually, it looked amazing, and just that scene was a good just opening scene to the episode. But as the episode went away from them and just went more into, obviously, back to King's Landing and more just character development and plot was just developing. And while we transition over to King's Landing from that opening scene, we see that we have another time jump. So it's episode 3 and we've had 2 time jumps. The first time jump from episode 1 to 2 was only like 6 months. This time jump, it took me a bit to be like, wait, what's going on? But this time jump is almost, I think, 3 years, because based on when King Viserys was like, I'm going to be marrying Alicent Hightower, she's now, in this episode, we see that they have a son. So he has his firstborn son, and it's with Alicent Hightower. He's 2, but she's also pregnant and like about to like give birth to the second child. So it's like, you could kind of obviously piece together with that timeline that it's been like about 3, maybe a little bit over 3 years, right? So big time jump. So I'm interested to see, because I know there's supposed to be a lot of time jumps. So I'm interested to see exactly when they're supposed to transition over to the older Rhaenyra and older Alicent Hightower, when that time jump's supposed to happen. But we obviously take in that this big time jump happens, and they're basically celebrating Aegon Targaryen, King Viserys' firstborn. And a lot of this episode, we feel a lot of the tension just rising in between the Targaryen family members. And we just feel the tension building, the civil war, like the seeds being planted for what's going to pop off to be the civil war, right? And there was a lot of people that honestly, like, a lot of the actors and characters like killed it in this episode. But like I was mentioning, like, and I'm going to get to it, this episode, I thought for a bit slowed down a little bit, because there was just a lot of character development. There was a lot of speeches and monologues, amazing ones, by the way, that I'll get into, until obviously the stuff popped off at the end of the episode, which I will get into in a bit. So stick around. But a lot of the meat of the episode was basically planting seeds of what's gonna inevitably turn into the civil war between Rhaenyra and Aegon, obviously down the line, right? So the king is basically just feeling a lot of pressure from the realm, basically being like, yeah, we know you named Rhaenyra your heir, but are you gonna, now that you have your firstborn son, are you gonna correct that a little bit and name him the heir? So it was just, he was getting a lot of that this episode, just again, pushing the plot forward, planting those seeds. And we see that King Viserys is battling with this conflict, because in his mind, he was like, I'm sure that, like, he's like, I'm pretty sure my decision that I named Rhaenyra my heir, and like, it was a good decision. But obviously he's hearing this stuff from the realm. And he actually explains later on in the episode that he thought maybe naming Rhaenyra his heir would kind of free him from the guilt of his wife, of his past wife. And so maybe like his decision making wasn't in the best place, and he was kind of just doing it to make himself feel better. Who knows? But he is still having that conflict. It's not like he's hearing the influence from the realm, and he's basically like, yeah, you know what, Rhaenyra, like, it just makes more sense doing this way. So it's just like, we're going to go this way. Like, he is really battling and having a hard time with this decision. And honestly, like, shout out to Paddy Constantine, because honestly, like King Viserys wasn't sticking out as a character to me in the first 2 episodes. But again, because I was saying that this episode really centered around the Targaryens and really just highlighting the conflict between them and just like certain true feelings towards each other, which again, like I'll get into Daemon, how like a reaction from Daemon that he had that really just kind of shows to me and probably to the audience, just there is like a disconnect in between these family members, right? But back to Paddy Considine, like he was giving some amazing speeches, and like I was saying, he wasn't shining through too much to me in the first 2 episodes. He was doing really well, but this episode was all King Viserys, and like when it's him and Rhaenyra, those scenes are amazing. But honestly, him on his ones, just doing his monologues were like amazing. Like when he was talking to Alicent Hightower, after when he was talking about possibly providing help to Daemon and the Sea Snake, because he received a letter that Daemon and the Sea Snake were losing their battle, right? But then there was also another speech where he gave in front of the fire pit, originally talking about when he basically not confessed, but basically when he told Alicent that he thought him naming Rhaenyra would kind of make up for him trying to pressure his wife to give him a son, his ex-wife, his past wife that passed away, right? But then there was also the other speech where when he was talking to Otto Hightower, just about when he was just like, he's like, I'm tired of this fucking politicking. Like he's just like getting sick of it. And there was just a lot of moments of Paddy Considine and King Viserys where he really shined through, and I was just like, to me, this was his episode. You know what I mean? And just showing his conflict, and that conflict of him wanting to be a good man and a good king, but knowing that these certain decisions will not only get affected, but will piss off other people. Because he mentions it literally in the show where he's just like, me making one decision will make one person angry, but the other person happy. But if I make the other decision, it'll be the flip, right? So he's basically saying that like, I can't make anybody happy with my decisions, right? But he has a hard time making these decisions because he is you could tell that he is a good man, right? So honestly, this was a very good episode, because we know that the meat of this entire series is the Targaryen civil war. So them planting these seeds and really us seeing how kind of beef is being laid, and just how certain characters will have disdain for other characters. Like, I totally understand why Rhaenyra would not only have ill feelings towards Alicent, like her best friend, because honestly, that's like, if you think about that, like that's crazy. Like, my mom passes away and my best friend basically swoops in there, becomes my dad's new woman, and then within no time gives him a son, which is what my mom was trying to do and passed away from trying to do that. So that's so crazy. So it's like, I understand why Rhaenyra would be upset with that, but then I also understand why Rhaenyra would then have ill feelings towards Aegon, because you see just her disdain and her just kind of like, it's subtle and it's passive, but like there's times where she was like, no one's here for me, right? Because it was Aegon's second birthday, or second name day. So basically like everyone was there for Aegon, and her basically voicing that everyone's here for him and not me. And there was a lot of times where she would just kind of look over at Aegon and just kind of give these looks. Again, just showing the disdain and planting these seeds of why these characters get to the point where they're beefing and they're warring and all this stuff pops off, right? So really good episode, and a really good just progression of the plot and the story, and a lot of good character moments. So now getting into the end of the episode, the final kind of medium size, we get our first medium sized battle. It wasn't really a big battle, or I don't want to classify it a small one, but we got our first like medium sized battle of the new series House of the Dragon. And like I mentioned earlier, Daemon and the Sea Snake were losing, and they asked for help from the king. And actually, it wasn't even them that asked for help. I guess it was maybe someone in their camp that asked for help. So again, Daemon's super pride, and that's why I was saying at the beginning, Daemon's a madman, because when King Viserys is having the conversation with his wife, Alicent Hightower, she convinces him like, what would you as a good man do? he was obviously thinking, if I send help now, while these two people that kind of disobeyed me and kind of like deserted the realm, and I go help them, what would that look on me? And she was just like, forget that. Like, what would a good man do? And you basically kind of cuts to a scene where there's a knight bringing a letter to Daemon and to that camp, basically being like, I don't want to see you lose. Like, I'm providing help and ships are coming. And you basically see Daemon. And when I say Daemon's a madman, I'm talking about the scene where it zoomed up on his face. And then he was kind of just in the field and it looked like he was about to surrender. And then he just goes crazy and starts cutting up mans. No, I'm talking about when he gets the letter from his brother and his brother's actually trying to be helpful and really trying to reach out. Yo, the man just takes his helmet and starts bashing the soldier that brought the letter's helmet, right? And you could just, again, obviously great acting and writing. And this show is absolutely amazing. Like, honestly, I love this world and this show is so fucking good. Honestly, this show is really just fucking good. And like, honestly, as an actor, I would somehow love to make it on this fucking show somehow in my life. Like, fuck. But we basically see Daemon doing that, it basically just signals to the audience like, yo, fuck this letter. Fuck what the king's trying to provide. Yo, I'm gonna do this battle myself. Like, yo, I don't care if I have to go up in this field and go cut all these mans down myself, which we basically see. We basically see him waving the white flag trying to surrender, but it was a fake out. Soldiers are just rushing him and he's just cut mans down. And just soldiers are coming out. Because where they were battling, the advantage that the crab feeder had was that to protect them from the dragons, they had a lot of caves surrounded in this area so that his soldiers were able to go in the caves and protect themselves from the dragon. So that's why they were having a hard time overtaking this particular area. So by Daemon going out there, it basically drew all the men out. And all you see is Rhaenyra Velaryon, which is the sea snake's son, riding on his dragon, which I think it's called Sea Smoke. But this dragon looks sick because it was like gray or kind of like a really like off-white color. But it seemed pretty big. And honestly, like, I thought Daemon's dragon might have came in too, but we saw his dragon at the beginning of the episode in that really, really good shot. But honestly, I actually like the look of Daemon's dragon. I didn't at first because it was like a little lengthier and there was kind of like wings at the back or something. But honestly, I got a better look at it as it was flying through the air. And honestly, I really like Daemon's dragon. His dragon looks sick, but even Sea Smoke coming in and Rhaenyra Velaryon kind of bunning up all those mans, his soldiers as they came out of the cave because Daemon was actually able to draw them out. And we actually see Daemon go into a cave after Crab Feeder and basically come out with half of his body. You know what I mean? Basically signaling that he won the battle and that he didn't need the help from Viserys because obviously his, you know what I mean? Like his pride came out in that moment, but they were able to get it done basically. You know what I mean? So again, just there's more context than him just going and trying to do that himself and going into the cave and basically accomplishing that by himself, right? There's more than just that being a sick action scene in a battle. That's basically just implying that he's just like, I don't want any help from you. I'm done with you and I'm done with y'all other Targaryens. Like, it's just like the beef and tension is deadly between the members of this family. And they're really, really, really just trying to highlight that. And I think they did an excellent job by Matt Smith, Daemon Targaryen, barely even saying a word. Like, he barely has any lines in this episode, but you're really able to just feel how he's feeling and just, he's really able to just get those feelings across and get how he's going to be moving, just kind of foreshadowing how he's going to be moving through the rest of the series by barely doing anything, barely even saying anything. So honestly, a really good episode. It might have been the strongest so far, and they're all strong. Like, they're all strong, but and again, I could be boosting just because I'm again, like, I may be a Game of Thrones stan, a House of the Dragon stan, but this episode was really, really, really strong and from a lot of different levels, not only from the storytelling, the character development, the character moments, even just we finally getting a Rhaenyra and Alicent Hightower moment of just like, oh, awkward. So just a lot of good moments. On top of that, we get the amazing action with the opening scene looking amazing and the ending scene, our first medium-sized battle in House of the Dragon looking absolutely amazing. So some good stuff coming out of this episode, House of the Dragon episode 3, and I'm looking forward to more episodes to come. Like I can't wait for the rest of the series, especially the rest of the season. So and now that I know that these time jumps are happening, I'm wondering what time jump is gonna. I guess the big question is what time jump is happening next. Like how far in the future are we gonna go when we get the next episode, episode 4? So we're gonna have to wait and see. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this episode. If this is your favorite, which one of the episodes is your favorite, and where you think it's gonna be going next, and what you're excited to see in the upcoming episodes. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you think you'd be interested in content like this, House of the Dragon reviews, Rings of Power review, She-Hulk reviews, trailer reactions, all that good entertainment talk. If you think you'd be interested in that, subscribe to the Brandon Correia Network. You will not regret it. I appreciate you for watching. Catch you next time.